The grand spectacle. The war drums of the arena echoed across the city of Valkesh, the capital of the Jilka Dominion. Thousands of alien spectators roared in anticipation, their voices merging into a deafening crescendo. Towering holograms displayed the gladiators, champions from across the galaxy, battle-hardened and lethal. The Dominion had ruled for centuries through its tradition of combat. Strength was the only law that mattered. In the depths of the Colosseum Prime, warriors from conquered species fought for their ruler's amusement. None had ever defied the Dominion's superiority. Until today. A new contender had arrived. A species so young in the galactic order, so primitive in its understanding of warfare, that most Jilka barely acknowledged its existence. Humans. At first, the crowd laughed when they saw the human fighters enter the arena. Their frames were lean compared to the towering Varker brutes or the multi-limbed Keth warriors. No armored scales, no razor-sharp claws. Just flesh, bone, and a thin layer of combat gear. But laughter quickly turned into murmurs. Something was different about these humans. Their eyes didn't carry fear. They didn't tremble at the thought of facing the champions of the Dominion. They grinned. The challenge. High above the arena, in the floating throne of the Jilka High Council, Lord Var watched with a bemused expression. His golden exoskeleton shimmered under the artificial sunlight, his 4 insectoid arms tapping rhythmically against the armrest. These humans believe they can challenge our ways, Var mused. Let them be taught a lesson in pain. Beside him, the warlord General Korik, a towering beast with overlapping carapace armor, snorted in amusement. They will not last 5 minutes. Down below, the first trial began. A dozen warriors emerged from the gates, merciless gladiators who had survived years in the arena. The best of their kind. The rules were simple, survive or die. The gong rang. The aliens charged. And the humans? They moved. Not with brute strength, not with reckless fury, but with precision. The first warrior lunged at a human soldier, expecting an easy kill. A blink later, the human sidestepped, driving a blade into the warrior's unarmored joint. The alien stumbled, gurgled, and collapsed. The crowd gasped. The second warrior swung a massive plasma axe, only to find the human had already moved. A flash of steel, a spray of blood. The alien fell, throat slashed. One by one, the champions of the Dominion fell, not to strength, but to speed. To cunning. To sheer, cold efficiency. Not just warriors, predators. By the time the first round ended, half the arena was painted in alien blood. The remaining gladiators hesitated. A deadly mistake. The humans struck like ghosts. No wasted movements, no hesitation. They dodged, feinted, and struck with terrifying precision. They didn't fight with the desperate fury of prey, they fought with the confidence of apex predators. Lord Var's amusement faded. His fingers tightened around the throne's armrest. What are they? Korik's mandibles twitched. Not prey. Then came the final test of the round. A creature of nightmares emerged, a Raxian warlord standing at 4 meters tall, plated in unbreakable chitin. It had slaughtered thousands in the arena. The Raxian roared, charging at the humans with thunderous steps. The audience braced for carnage. But the human leader, a man with ice in his veins, simply whispered, "Bring it down." The humans didn't scatter. They didn't run. They coordinated. One soldier distracted it with a barrage of gunfire, while another circled behind, striking at its exposed tendons. A third climbed onto its back, driving a blade deep between its armored plates. The beast thrashed, roared, and fell. Dead. Silence. Then the impossible happened. The spectators, proud warriors of the Dominion, began to chant. Human. Human. A nightmare realized. Lord Var's claws dug into his throne. Unacceptable. These humans, these weak creatures, had done the impossible. They had conquered the first trial. Korik exhaled slowly. I believe we have underestimated them. Var's compound eyes narrowed. Then we will correct our mistake. He stood, his voice amplified through the arena speakers. Humans, you have earned the right to advance, but understand this. His voice darkened. We will break you. The lead human looked up, his expression unreadable. Then he smiled. You can try. The arena trembled with anticipation. Lord Var's declaration echoed across the Colosseum Prime, his voice laced with venomous authority. We will break you. A lesser species would have cowered under such a proclamation. Most would have begged for mercy or forfeited their right to continue. But the humans? They smiled. The lead human, a battle-hardened soldier known only as Captain Rourke, tilted his head and smirked at the High Council's floating throne. His piercing eyes locked onto Var's, unflinching, unafraid. "You can try." The crowd gasped at his audacity. Challenging the Dominion was suicide. No species had ever withstood their full might. Var's mandibles clicked together in frustration. "These creatures mock us," Korik growled. "They will not mock us much longer." Var turned to the announcer, an elongated Zyron with a cybernetic voice box. "Summon the Sovereign Guard." A ripple of unease swept through the audience. The Sovereign Guard were not mere gladiators. They were executioners. The Sovereign Guard. From the arena's shadowed corridors, 5 figures emerged. The first was a Varkar Titan, standing over 3 meters tall, clad in segmented armor that was impervious to most conventional weapons. It wielded a hammer that could shatter bones with a single blow. The second was a Keth Bladewalker, 4 arms, each gripping a plasma-forged blade capable of slicing through metal. It moved with an unnatural grace, each step perfectly calculated. The third was a Tenkor Psionic, its body crackling with biotic energy, eyes glowing like dying stars. The fourth was an Axari Warborn, cybernetic enhancements covering its muscular frame, its arms replaced with high-frequency vibroclaws that hummed with murderous intent. And the last was a Dominion champion, a Jilka enforcer bred for war. It had never lost a battle. Its exoskeleton was reinforced with layers of adaptive plating, its reflexes enhanced to surpass organic limits. The crowd roared in anticipation. The arena lights flickered, massive energy barriers rising around the battlefield. There would be no escape. This was no longer a contest. It was an execution. The fight begins. Captain Rourke exhaled slowly. His squad was outnumbered, outmatched. The Sovereign Guard weren't just fighters, they were legends. "Jackson," Rourke muttered to his sniper. "That Keth Bladewalker. Take out its legs." Jackson barely nodded before disappearing into the shadows. "Reyes, keep the psionic busy. Don't let it focus." "On it." "Saito, distract the Titan. Make him chase you." Saito smirked. "Always wanted to piss off something that big." The gong rang. The battlefield exploded into chaos. The Titan charged first, hammer raised. The ground cracked beneath its weight as it swung down with a force that could pulverize steel. Saito barely dodged in time, rolling to the side. Dust and debris erupted into the air. He fired 3 rounds into its side, bullets that should have penetrated most armor. They barely dented it. Shit. The Keth Bladewalker darted forward, its 4 blades a blur of motion. It closed the gap between itself and Rourke in an instant. But before it could strike, a single shot rang out. Jackson's sniper bullet found its mark. Not the chest, not the head, those were protected. Instead, the round buried itself in the creature's left knee. The Bladewalker collapsed, screeching in rage. It never got up. A second shot, this one to the throat, ended its existence. 1 down. The shift in battle. The psionic raised a hand and suddenly Reyes screamed. He was lifted into the air, his body convulsing as waves of unseen force crushed his organs. Blood leaked from his nose, his eyes. No. A flash of movement. Rourke sprinted forward, a combat knife in hand. The psionic barely registered him before the blade was buried in its neck. The force holding Reyes dissipated. The psionic gurgled, clutching its throat as it collapsed. 2 down. The Titan roared in frustration. Saito had been nothing more than an insect buzzing around it, avoiding each attack. But as the beast turned in frustration, it made a fatal mistake. It exposed its back. A well-placed explosive charge, courtesy of Jackson, detonated against its spinal plating. The Titan stumbled. Its armor had absorbed most of the impact, but then Saito struck, driving a thermite-coated blade deep into the crack the explosion had created. Molten metal burned through its body. The beast groaned, staggered, then fell. 3 down. The Axari Warborn and the Jilka enforcer remained. The Warborn was fast. Too fast. In a blur of motion, it closed the distance to Reyes and slashed. Reyes barely had time to react before its vibroclaws tore into his side. Blood sprayed the sand. Reyes collapsed, gasping, his fingers pressing against the wound. Rourke reacted instantly. He grabbed the Axari by the shoulder and drove a combat knife into the base of its skull. A fatal miscalculation. Cybernetic reflexes kicked in. The Warborn spun, its claws slicing toward Rourke's throat. He barely managed to twist away, but not before the claws grazed his arm, cutting deep. Pain flared. Blood dripped onto the sand. Jackson took the shot. A high-impact round slammed into the Warborn's head, shattering its cybernetic enhancements. The beast twitched and collapsed. 4 down. Only one remained. The Jilka enforcer stood, silent, unreadable. It had watched its allies fall. It had studied the humans' methods. It did not move. It did not attack. It simply spoke. "You are different." Rourke, breathing hard, gritted his teeth. "What?" The enforcer's mandibles twitched. "All others panic. You do not. We're not like the others." Pause. Then the enforcer removed its helmet. It was a sign of honor. A sign of respect. "I see that now," the enforcer admitted. "Perhaps we have underestimated you for too long." But before anything more could be said, before the duel could continue, Lord Var's voice boomed through the arena. "Enough." The arena lights flickered. The energy barriers powered down. The match was over. The humans had won. The aftermath. The Colosseum Prime stood in stunned silence. Then, an explosion of sound. The crowd, once jeering, now roared in exhilaration. "Human! Human! Human!" The chant filled the city, echoing across the Dominion's capital. Lord Var's claws tightened around his throne. His body trembled, not with rage but with something far more dangerous. Fear. He had thrown the best warriors of the Dominion at them. And the humans had not only survived. They had dominated. "This is impossible," Korik whispered. "What do we do?" Var's compound eyes darkened. "We escalate." He stood, his voice carrying across the arena. "Humans, you have impressed us. But your journey is not over." A massive gate rumbled open. Beyond it a shadow stirred. A beast unlike anything seen before. A creature engineered for one purpose. To kill. Rourke wiped the blood from his brow and exhaled. "Here we go again." The roar of death. The massive gates of the Colosseum Prime groaned as they parted, revealing absolute darkness beyond. The arena, once filled with the deafening chants of, "Human! Human!" fell into an eerie silence. Even the most hardened warriors of the Dominion shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Something was coming. Then the ground trembled. A sound unlike anything before rumbled from the darkness, a guttural, bone-shaking growl that vibrated through the very foundations of the arena. It wasn't just loud. It was wrong, a sound designed by nature and refined by engineering to trigger fear on a primal level. Saito clenched his fists. "That doesn't sound friendly." Reyes, despite his injuries, grinned weakly. "Didn't know we signed up for a kaiju fight." Then it stepped into the light. The crowd gasped. A havoc beast. A legend. A nightmare. The Dominion's ultimate biological weapon. Its quadrupedal frame was covered in obsidian black armor plating that shimmered like liquid metal. Its head was a fusion of reptilian and insectoid horror, its maw lined with serrated teeth that dripped with venom capable of liquefying organic matter. 2 pairs of crimson eyes burned with an unnatural intelligence, and thick muscular tendrils writhed from its spine like living whips, each ending in hooked talons. This was no mere animal. This was an executioner. And it had been unleashed to kill them. The impossible foe. The beast didn't charge. It analyzed. Its eyes darted from one human to the next, taking in posture, stance, breathing patterns. It was thinking. Calculating. "Shit," Jackson muttered. "It's learning us." Rourke's grip on his combat knife tightened. "We bring it down. Same as before." Cap. Saito pointed at the havoc beast's armor. "That thing looks like it could shrug off a railgun round." As if to prove his point, one of the arena's mounted plasma turrets opened fire. A blinding bolt of energy streaked across the sand, striking the creature dead center. The havoc beast didn't even flinch. Instead, the impact absorbed into its plated hide. The energy pulsed through its body, then redirected through its tendrils in a violent discharge that obliterated the turret in a single blast. A stunned silence followed. Then Reyes cursed. "That thing just turned a plasma shot into a damn weapon." Lord Var grinned from his throne. "Checkmate," he whispered. "First blood." The havoc beast attacked. Faster than something its size had any right to be, it blurred forward. Jackson barely had time to raise his rifle before a tendril lashed out, ripping the weapon from his hands. The force sent him spinning across the sand. Reyes moved to fire, but the beast was already upon him. A clawed limb swung. Reyes twisted, but not fast enough. Razor-sharp talons ripped through his torso, sending blood spraying across the battlefield. He hit the ground hard, groaning in agony. St. Rourke sprinted toward him, but the havoc beast anticipated the move. It lashed out with its barbed tendrils. The human captain barely rolled aside as metallic whips slashed past his face, carving deep gouges into the arena floor. This wasn't just an animal. This was tactical, efficient. It knew exactly how to isolate and eliminate its prey. And it was winning. Adapt or die. Cover fire. Rourke shouted. Saito and Jackson unloaded everything they had, hurling grenades, firing bursts, anything to get the creature's attention. But nothing worked. The Havoc Beast's armor absorbed the impact. Its crimson eyes locked onto Jackson, and then it vanished in a blur of movement. Jackson didn't even have time to react. A massive clawed foot slammed onto his chest, pinning him to the ground. The sniper grunted, struggling, but it was impossible to move. The Havoc Beast lowered its massive head, jaws parting. It was going to devour him alive. Jackson gritted his teeth. Well, how? Then a shot rang out. A single bullet. Not fired at the beast, but at the ground beneath it. A cloud of high-pressure sand exploded upward, right into the creature's crimson eyes. It recoiled instantly, roaring in frustration. Jackson seized his chance, rolling free just as its jaws slammed shut on empty air. Rourke smirked, lowering his pistol. Looks like you don't like being blind. The Havoc Beast turned toward him, its gaze burning with rage. It had learned from the plasma turret attack. But now they had learned from it. The turn of the tide. It attacked again, but this time the humans weren't reacting. They were anticipating. Saito moved first, diving under its strike and planting a sticky grenade against its underbelly. Boom. A blast rocked the arena, sending shrapnel flying. The Havoc Beast staggered, armor dented. Jackson was already moving, emptying an entire clip into the wounded spot before diving into cover. The beast snarled, swinging wildly. But Rourke was faster. He vaulted over its lashing tail, landing on its armored back. Then, gripping his combat knife, he drove it deep into the exposed wound. The blade pierced flesh. The Havoc Beast screeched, its body convulsing violently. Jackson took aim. One shot. Straight through the skull. The massive beast shuddered, then collapsed. Silence. For a moment, nothing moved. Then, the Colosseum erupted into chaos. The aftermath. Who man? Who man? Who man? The chant was deafening. Lord Var's claws dug into his throne. He had engineered the Havoc Beast to be unstoppable. Yet these humans had just killed it. They cannot win, Korik stammered. Var turned his gaze toward the battlefield. The humans, bloodied, battered, but alive, stood victorious. A revelation settled in his mind. They weren't just survivors. They weren't just warriors. They were something more. They were apex predators. And the Dominion had no idea what they had just awakened. The aftershock. The Havoc Beast lay motionless, its massive frame still steaming from the brutal onslaught. A pool of inky black ichor spread beneath its corpse, sizzling where it met the scorching sands of the arena floor. For a moment there was only silence. Then the Colosseum exploded into sound. H-U-Man. 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 The chant rolled like a tidal wave through the stands, rattling the very structure of the stadium. But not everyone was cheering. Lord Var sat motionless in his throne, claws gripping the armrests so tightly that the reinforced metal groaned beneath the pressure. His piercing gaze locked onto the battered but standing human warriors. His most powerful creation. His unstoppable executioner, had been slain. By them. Unacceptable. Impossible. This cannot stand, he muttered. Korik, his ever-loyal advisor, was pale, mandibles clicking in anxious disbelief. My lord, the Dominion cannot ignore this. They have bested our ultimate predator in single combat. The masses will. They are nothing, Var growled, but even he wasn't convinced. The humans were rewriting the rules. And the galaxy was watching. A new challenger enters. The gates on the far side of the arena groaned again. But this time, it wasn't another beast emerging. It was warriors. Dozens of Dominion gladiators, elite blood champions clad in ceremonial armor, each bearing weapons of war that had spilled the blood of 1,000 species. The crowd fell into stunned silence. This wasn't part of the ritual combat. This was an execution. Rourke wiped blood from his chin and straightened. Ah, so this is how they handle losses. No rematch. No honor. Jackson checked his ammo, his lips pressed into a grim line. Surprised it took him this long to cheat. Saito grinned, despite his injuries. And here I was hoping for a victory lap. Reyes, still clutching his wounded side, let out a weak chuckle. They should have just given us the damn trophy. The Dominion warriors charged. And the humans met them head-on. The battle for survival. The arena floor exploded into violence. Rourke sidestepped a plasma spear, grabbed the wrist of his attacker and twisted, hard. A sickening snap echoed as the alien warrior howled in agony. Saito vaulted over a low slash, using the momentum to plant a knife deep into a warrior's throat. Reyes, wounded but furious, snatched a fallen energy blade and drove it upward, impaling an opponent straight through the chest. Jackson moved like a phantom, weaving between strikes, planting precise shots and exposed weak points. They were outnumbered 20-1. But that didn't matter. Because they were human. Because they had fought worse. Because they refused to die. The kingdom shattered. Lord Var watched, his vision narrowing. His greatest warriors, his champions, were being cut down like animals. By 4 battered humans. By something far more dangerous than just warriors. By apex predators who refused to lose. Something inside him cracked. The Dominion's whole foundation was built on superiority, on the unshakable belief that they were the rulers of the galaxy. But this wasn't a battle. This was an extinction event. His own people saw it too. The crowd wasn't just chanting. They were cheering for the humans. The Dominion was losing its grip. And in that moment, Lord Var realized the terrifying truth. The humans weren't just winning. They were conquering. The death of an empire. Var rose from his throne. All forces, he snarled into his communicator. Kill them. Now. But before his order could be carried out, boom. A thunderous explosion rocked the Colosseum. The entire structure shook, flames erupting along the upper levels. Then through the smoke and fire, a human warship descended from the storm-filled sky. A destroyer-class vessel, heavily armed, and broadcasting a single message across all Dominion frequencies. This is the Terran fleet. Stand down or be erased. Panic erupted among the spectators. Dominion officials scrambled for exits. Guards abandoned their posts. And Lord Var, once the undisputed ruler of the Colosseum, could only watch in stunned horror as his empire crumbled. The humans had arrived. And they were claiming victory. Final words. Rourke wiped the blood from his brow as the Dominion gladiators fell around them. He looked up at the burning sky, at the warship descending like the hammer of an angry god. Then he smiled. This arena? It's ours now. Fire, the humans have conquered the Dominion's greatest arena. What happens next? Like, comment, and subscribe for more HFY stories. Fire.